Good morning, everyone. I hope that you can hear me okay. Welcome to this webinar, which is focused on years 3 and 4's relationships and sex education for this year. If anyone was just part of the year 5 and 6 webinar as well, you're going to hear some of the same information and some information that's more specific to year 3 and 4. So you will get something from this. The webinar is being recorded so that if anyone isn't able to watch now, they can tune in later. So if any other halves are working and are unable to see the webinar, they will be able to do that. And we'll be sending out some resources to go alongside it too. The aims of the webinar are to share the curriculum aims for RSE, which is relationships and sex education. That will include the objectives that are taught. So you'll know what the children will be learning. There are some examples of the resources that are used, and there'll be time for questions. Please feel free to put questions in the chat at any point. I will answer them at the end, as well as giving you the chance to unmute and just share any questions that you have at that point. Some key points to start with. So RSE is relationships and sex education. Relationship education is statutory, which means that we have to teach it by, DfE guidance, which states that the focus in primary schools is on teaching the characteristics of positive relationships, with a particular focus on friendships, family relationships, and relationships we have with other children, our peers, and with adults. Sex education is not statutory, although it is recommended to be taught in primary schools. Parents do have a right to withdraw children from sex education above and beyond what is included in the science curriculum. And I will let you know how you can do that later in the webinar, should you wish to. So the science curriculum is statutory, as I've said. Now, in year 2, the children will have learned that animals, including humans, have offspring that grow into adults. They've been introduced to the concepts of reproduction and growth, but not how it occurs. As children move on to year 5, when they get older, they will learn about the life cycles of humans and animals. That will include reproduction. They also learn about changes that happen in humans from birth to old age, and that includes puberty and information about periods. So that will happen in their science lessons, which they can't be removed from. But as I said, they can be removed from their sex education lessons if you wish. There is more information in this document, which is the guidance for schools about RSE and how it should be taught. And I will share the slideshow. You can access that if you want to find out more about what must be included. We use this scheme to teach PSHE. PSHE is the subject in which RSE sits. It stands for Personal, Social and Health Education. I'm going to send you an overview which shows everything that is taught throughout the year, and then as children get older, what they will then go on to learn. There are 6 puzzle pieces, one for each half term. They are Being Me in My World, Celebrating Difference, Dreams and Goals, Healthy Me, Relationships, and Changing Me. So it's a subject which is all about learning about ourselves and how we kind of operate in the world, how we can be happy and healthy, well-adjusted people who respect and care for others. Now, Changing Me is the sex education bit. So that's the bit that we're going on to be doing now. That's what we're talking about today. Here are the objectives for year 3. So this is what they learn in year 3. They learn that animals and humans, as they grow, change, that lots of changes happen between conception and growing up. They learn that it's usually the female who has the baby, and they learn how babies grow and develop whilst they're in their mother's uterus. They learn about what babies need to live and grow, and they think about how they feel or how they might feel if they had a new baby in the family. They think about how girls and boys' bodies change on the outside. So what we look like changes as we grow up, but also on the inside, how we might change too, and why these changes are important, so that our bodies can do more as we grow up. And we recognise how we might feel about these changes happening to us. Mary, I'm just on a webinar at the moment, lovely. Can I come back to you? Is that all right? I'll come and find you soon. This is open door policy that we have here at Grovelands, which I'm sure you'll appreciate. So that's what we teach in year three. The last point there, which I think I was just touching on, is about feeling, how we might feel about the changes and how we might cope with those feelings. Here are some of the diagrams that we use. So very simple pictorial representations of what we're talking about, showing how our bodies change as we grow, how the baby develops in the mother's uterus, and then some more specific sort of cross sections of what's happening as the baby is developing, using the scientific vocabulary in the labels that go with the diagrams, which is really important. So they will know the correct words to use about these topics. Here's another example of a year three resource about how we change, what happens to our bodies, how that's different for boys and girls, what's the same, what's different. Here's some more specific diagrams of the body parts that we'll be talking about with the children in year three. So you can see words like testicles and sperm, ovaries and puberty, which are used with the children so that they know the correct sort of scientific terminology. On to year four, the objectives, there's a continuation really. So they're learning some of the same things and building on what they've learned. They're learning about the personal characteristics that come from our birth parents and the fact that this happens because of the joining of the egg and the sperm. So we're a bit of our mother and a bit of our father, but we're unique. We learn about labeling the internal and external parts of male and female bodies, which you've seen in the diagrams previously. So that continues, and that these parts are necessary for making a baby. They learn that having a baby is a personal choice, and they think about how they might feel about having children when they grow older. And they learn to describe how a girl's body changes so that she can have a baby when she is older, and that having periods is part of that. And then finally, they think about the strategies that might help them cope with the changes they have, both physically and emotionally, as they grow older. Here are some examples of the resources that are used. We can see here the male and female bodies with some labeling that takes place. And you can see, I know it's very small, but they have the vocabulary to support their labeling. And they're using the correct scientific vocabulary. And then really you can see some of the same diagrams. And through repetition, that obviously they're increasing their familiarity with some of these processes and some of the language that they need. Again, you've seen these diagrams in the year three resources. There's a continuation of that. And there are some videos that go alongside it as well. So your child may just go through that process and have the lessons, and that might be fine for your child. But there are some children where they might need more support. For example, if they have particular additional needs that mean that they might need to have some pre-teaching or post-teaching around these concepts to help them to understand it. They might need social stories. They might need extra visuals to break down the information further for them. So we do have that available to us. Typically, we would identify if a child needed that and would reach out to you. But if you felt that you wanted your child to have something extra or different, you can always contact us. The email address is there, or you can reach out to your child's class teacher and ask them what might be available for your child. A few tips, none of this will be news to you because you do it all the time, but our children are curious and they want to know about the world and their bodies, and they will ask us questions and they will ask us that question that we think, oh, I wish I'd had a chance to think about this before. I think that having an idea of the objectives that are taught will be helpful to you because you can start to think about what your child might ask you and decide how you're going to approach that. And you'll know how we've taught it in school. So you'll be able to echo or mirror some of the same words or language that is used. Our tips are be honest in an age appropriate way, try to answer their questions. You'll know where the line is for them that you don't want to go past. And make sure they know that nothing is taboo and that they can speak to you about anything and you're not going to be shocked by anything they might ask you because you understand they're curious and they're growing up and they're finding out more. Using the correct terminology is really good. Children using the right words to label their body parts. and it's just responding to what they need. If you're ever thinking, how do I answer that particular question, and you want some advice, please reach out. We won't necessarily have all the answers, but sometimes just bouncing ideas off someone can help to, come up with a solution. Okay, so questions. I haven't got anything in the chat, so I am going to stop the share and give you the chance to unmute if you wish and ask any questions you might have. There are so no questions now. If you do have any questions, all you need to do is email info@grovelands.surrey.sch.uk and ask. We would get back to you with an answer. Should you wish to withdraw your child from part or all of the sex education that is taught here at Grovelands, you can do that simply by emailing info@grovelands, etc., and just requesting that. We don't make you jump through any hoops. We're quite transparent about what is taught, so so you have that opportunity if you want to. Some parents sometimes want to see the full resource pack that we use. That's fine. If you do, again, just email that request and we'll just email you everything so that you can go through it. So that's useful. But some parents want to have the opportunity to talk about it with their child before they encounter it in class. And that would be fine if you did want that. Okay. The recording will come out later today along with the resources. We hope the session has been useful to you. Have a lovely day and a great weekend.